P.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, what is it? I'm seeing a message. What is it that you want to communicate?
I think we have some. I think it's been a while, but I do think we have some major news to break here.
Oh, really? Okay. Would you say this is a major announcement, or is it just major?
Personally, I do think it does warrant a major announcement.
Well, you have a low bar for the major announcement, but nonetheless, let's. All right, well then let's fire it up. It's a major announcement.
A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show. A major announcement.
I don't even know what the announcement is. Albert, what is the major announcement, please?
I was doing some pre-work, surprisingly hustling. You know, you mentioned the bar, and you already know the story about the bar. The bar is set low enough for me to reach it every time.
Yes, and Albert likes to keep a low bar in terms of his performance and his work. It's true.
Wise, yes.
Yeah.
As long as you're making it to your bar, that's all fine. But then I did work on a new sting. Of course, a lot of people like our music, like our little musical elements, and I have to debut it. It's brand new.
This is a sting. So sting, just so everybody knows, a little shorter. Like the sweepers are the long things you hear with all the drops. This is a shorter thing, a sting. So that's what we're going to hear. Okay, go ahead, Albert. Let's hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Oh, I like it. Very nice, Albert.
It's very West Wing. Yes.
It's very. It feels like Kevin Costner's voice should come on. It's got that kind of music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very presidential.
It is. You're right, Kim. I think it is presidential. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a. Well, now I really like it.
Do you know who I am?
Yes, I am.
I'm kind of a big deal.
All right. Albert, nice job. Thank you. And certainly worthy of a major announcement. So we'll be hearing that maybe later in the show, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I might just play every rejoin. I might just hit that same one because I'm proud of my work, Mark. I'm very
married to it at this point. All right.
Smash the like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Like a boss for the new rejoiner. That is the result of Albert's hard work. And now, let me bring this guy on. Friend of the show, always available when we need him, even in this busy time. I mean, this really is, if you're a weather guy, it's like Super Bowl week every week.
Yeah.
The former weather anchor at Good Morning America. I need a minute once in a while when I reflect on that.
Just say you can get through it. It's okay.
I'm not saying I would have done a better job than Spencer Christian, but I would have done as good a job. That's all I'm saying.
Don't even go there.
How about a welcome for Spencer Christian, everybody? Come on, ABC 7.
Hey, thank you. I'm sorry I stole your career. Listen, I just hear it,
but you did. Go ahead. Yes.
I just hear the unmistakable voice of Shadow Stevens.
Oh, yes.
I have Shadow Stevens stories. He and I had a lot of interaction. Back in the days when I was a guest square on Hollywood Squares several times. And, Shadow was the announcer. And I always thought, man, if I had a voice like that, I'd have a future in broadcasting.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens.
Yeah, so he was the voice of Hollywood Squares. Ultimately became a... So wait a minute.
Mark,
you were on
ever a guest on Hollywood Squares, Mark?
You were on Hollywood. You were a square on Hollywood Squares?
Only for a few weeks.
Wait a minute. Did Good Morning America send you there to do one of those little feature-y stories where you're like a little guest square and it's kind of like a stunt type thing? Or were you actually on Hollywood Squares as a celebrity in one of the squares?
I was on the show as a celebrity in one of those squares, but only for a week.
God,
that's right.
What?
Yeah.
Only for about 5 or 6 weeks, and it wasn't
5 or 6 weeks the man was on. Oh, and he said only 5 or 6. Kim, he doesn't even realize what a gifted life he's had.
You know what?
It's outrageous.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Only 5 or 6 weeks.
Consecutive weeks. I was just here and there,
Oh.
Spencer, so you can't tell him things like that. Look what happens to us now. Look what you've done.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
I toiled in my profession. I'm diligent. I work hard.
Yeah.
I am dynamic. I'm charismatic. I mean, look at me.
Nothing.
Exactly. For all of that, I got nothing. And Spencer Christian.
Well,
he gets Good Morning America, and he gets 5 or 6 weeks on Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, but they weren't consecutive.
Can you let him finish, sir?
No, he's finished. All right, so listen.
You know how big of a deal someone is as to whether or how long they've been on Hollywood Squares. You know,
I agree. I mean, if you said, "Well, it was only a week," I mean, even that would be a knife
not
to the gut.
consecutive.
But 5 or 6 weeks, multiple knives to the gut. Well, but there's one thing I didn't mention to you long ago in all the many years we've known each other after I stole your career on Good Morning America. I know I mentioned how much money I was making. I mean, I was soaked in money because of my morning television work. I didn't mention that I was on Hollywood Squares for 5 or 6 weeks. How dare you? The next thing you're going to tell me is like you had a guest role on Miami Vice or something. I mean, this is
I feel like we should get it all out now, Spencer. Like now's the time to lay it all on the table.
I did have one in All My Children.
Oh,
okay,
right,
okay. Pretty good, pretty good. Are you on All My Children, Mark?
I never was.
What?
I was not on All My Children. I've done a couple of things, but
no?
Spencer is so polite that he'll let me like take a little bit of the limelight as I talk about some of the movies I've been in or whatever. But the reality is he's on a rocket ship to the moon and I'm just orbiting, I'm just orbiting Earth. Anyway, you're lucky I love you so much, or otherwise I would be seething with resentment. But you are a good guy and you deserve it. I want to get to weather, but before I do, I want to ask you about Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy Carter is a real friend of yours. You've been asked to, MC the benefits and benefits / birthday celebrations that he's had.
This photo he's showing right now is from his 75th birthday celebration in 1999 in Americus, Georgia, and had the honor of being invited to MC. This was a huge event. I mean, it's an old historic theater in Americus, and it was attended by like 900 to 1,000 people, dignitaries, and diplomats and members of the Senate and stuff like that. That was really cool. And then 20 years later, this one, 2019, I was invited back to MC his 95th. In fact, this Mark was a joint celebration of Jimmy Carter's 95th and Mrs. Rosalind Carter's 92nd birthday. And wow. They are, as you know, they are just remarkable people. I mean, they've devoted their lives to serving humanity, to elevating the quality of life for the impoverished and the underserved. This is from an afternoon show we did here back in like around 2009, 2010, called The View from the Bay. Carter's a prolific author, and he had just released a book called "We Can Have Peace in the Promised Land," in the Holy Land, and he came on our show as a guest, and I interviewed him there. But I've had lots of interaction with him over the years, a lot of interaction.
And one of his, I think, cornerstone or signature achievements was getting a Middle East peace accord drafted.
Right. The Camp David Accord. He brought Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat together, and he basically insisted, "You're not leaving here till you reach a peace deal." It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. We were talking about this the other day, and I was saying that his presidency, this is the political side, was set with issues, some of which he had no control over. I mean, but that's what the presidency is. I mean, let's face it. He inherited this economy that was in trouble with this inflationary economy. It continued through his presidency, and the Iranian hostage crisis really sealed his fate. I mean, there was just no way he was going to prevail. And if you actually look at what happened, even though the hostages were released as Reagan was sworn in, it was the deal was forged by the Carter people, to release those hostages. So I was saying that history, I don't mean to make it uncomfortable at all, but history may view it as a failed presidency because of some of these things I talked about. Yet the reality is now, with the luxury of time, he's obviously an elder statesman. There is no questioning the purity of his heart. And when you look back at his presidency, you can see legitimate, remarkable achievements. Plus, the last thing I'll say, I love that he put solar panels on the White House. I mean, he was way ahead of his time.
And the Reagans took him out. How crazy is that?
Politics.
He was also the first president, I think, to talk about global warming as a matter of serious concern.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that, that was the guy that you sparked with, and that came from Good Morning America, right? That you met him on GMA, yeah?
Did. Yeah, I'll try to make a long story a little bit shorter. I had actually interviewed his, shall we say, nonconformist brother, Billy Carter, about 8 years before I met President Carter. So I interviewed Billy Carter and his wife Sybil in 1980 at WABC in New York, right? And then 8 years later now, during the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta, GMA sent me to the Carter Presidential Library to do an interview with Jimmy Carter. He comes up to me as we're setting up in the morning. He goes, "Hi, Spencer. I'm Jimmy Carter, and I want you to know the Carter family greatly appreciates how kind you were to Billy and Sybil." And I was blown away because that had been 8 years prior. And during that time of the Democratic Convention in 1988, Billy Carter was literally dying of cancer. So the way I met President Carter, it was such a personal thing. He and I formed a little bit of a connection there, and then I went on to work with them once on Habitat for Humanity. I did my GMA segments from that location, and one thing led to another, one interview led to another, and then the emceeing of the birthday events, and it just I
it's
live the life that I've been fortunate enough to live.
Yeah. I mean, really, really true. He didn't join you in Hollywood Squares at all, Spencer? Oh, that's too bad.
I should have thought to invite him. That would have been cool.
What? So he is now in hospice, and I'm sure you've been in touch with some of the people, and then we'll move on to the weather. But I just want to wrap up with Carter, who I think he's appreciated by everyone who is honest about looking at Jimmy Carter and the man he is.
That's right.
As I say, there's a purity of heart. A lot of people, you can say, well, he's a man of faith or whatever. Yeah, I get it. Look, the priest who molested my pal Jimmy was a man who went to church every Sunday, but a man who actually lives, I think, what he preaches.
Right.
I think you saw that in Jimmy Carter. Again, you may disagree with his politics and you may disagree about the success or failure of his presidency, but the purity of his work and his spirit, I think, can't be questioned.
No, you're absolutely right, Mark. I mean, you nailed it. He's a man who lives his faith every day, not by professing, how, religious he is. He lives it out. Well, let's put it this way. Jimmy Carter believes that his purpose in life is to serve God by serving humankind, and that's what he feels a what do you call it? A faithful servant is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that does say it. Anyway, wish him a smooth passage if that's what he wants. It's certainly a peaceful time now with his family.
Yeah.
What happened to his daughter? His daughter was a big. She was a kind of a little mini star, one of the first sort of young kids to occupy the White House. Amy Carter, was that her name?
That's right. It's Amy Carter. And she none of the Carters really enjoyed being in the limelight, but she certainly didn't, because she was thrown into this, limelight when she was 12 or 13 when he was elected, and some of the public comments made about her were unkind. So after that, I think they sheltered her a bit. But I have met Amy at a couple of the functions that I've emceed with the Carters, and she's living a wonderful life. She's got, I think she even has grandchildren now, but I know she has grown up children. And
wow.
She's just she is absolutely delightful. Yeah.
SNL did a sketch, and then we'll move on to weather. But SNL did a sketch that I thought was so funny. Amy Carter is in school, and Belushi and Aykroyd. So this is maybe season 1, of SNL or whatever.
Yeah.
They go in as her Secret Service agents, protecting the daughter of the president, and they're on either side of her desk as they stand there with the dark glasses and they're talking into their sleeves type thing. And there's an exam, and the Secret Service guy is looking over at the other person's answers and then passing them on to Amy, and trying and and then reaching over her to fill in the actual correct answer. It's a pretty funny sketch, but it did, in a sense, point up, as you say, this weird thing that she was having to live her life out loud, and that's pretty hard for a little girl growing up.
It really is. Yeah.
I want to talk weather with you.
Yes.
it seems like the cold air has moved in. What can we expect, and how will we be affected?
Well, today we can expect scattered, I won't say isolated, scattered cold showers. I mean, really cold showers. Yesterday we had those fierce winds, gusts between 60 and 70 miles per hour at times. Today is going to be another windy day, but not quite that windy. So the wind advisory and the wind warnings that were issued yesterday will drop today, I think, around 1 p.m. But we can expect these cold showers and some light snow mixed in elevations down to about 1,500 feet. Now, that's unusual enough. Tomorrow and Friday, it's going to be so cold here in the Bay Area that daytime high temperatures in most places will not get out of the 40s. We're talking about afternoon high 47, 48 degrees, and snow levels may drop as low as 500 feet in the Bay Area. So today, today's little storm, we're just giving it a level 1 ranking on the storm impact scale. Tomorrow and Friday, we're calling it a level 2. And yes, we often see, I shouldn't say often, but it's not unusual to see some light snow in the highest peaks like Mount Hamilton, Mount Diablo, maybe even down to Mount Tam. This time, the next 2 days, we'll see snow just on hillsides, down around 1,000 feet.
Wow.
That was a picture, by the way, of Arcata. We have a listener who says it snowed in the town of Arcata today. And there you go.
There it is. Wow, that's Arcata. Oh, and down in Southern California, I think you mentioned something about this earlier. There's a blizzard warning, in effect, for the mountains of Los Angeles County and Ventura County, where they could receive, get this, 2 to 5 feet of snow.
That's crazy. Yeah, and as you say, it's a blizzard warning. It's not happened before. All my, the meteorologist pals that I hang out with, they're all scratching and go, we can't find any record of it ever having been like this. You know what I mean?
I've driven through snow down there in the Grapevine on my way to Commerce Poker Casino, but no.
That's my guy. Come on. That's my guy.
Is there never been
anything like this.
That we could see snow at sea level? Like we could get some snow in our valleys? It's happened before.
Yeah, I think I think the last time snow fell at sea level in San Francisco, now maybe in other areas, it was something like, oh my gosh, 1908 or something like that. But I'm sure other places around the Bay Area have seen snow at sea level. Yeah.
And of course, just to I guess just to put a point on that, it's the moderating influence of the ocean and the bay. The water is what keeps the air mass essentially too warm for there to be snow.
Exactly.
And sorry, what were you going to say, Spencer?
I was just going to say, and the national weather picture is all screwed up too. They've got record heat all over the southeastern quadrant. High temperatures up in the mid to upper 80s in some places today. Louisville and Little Rock and places like that. Then and up in the Northeast and in the upper Midwest, it's like the frigid cold snap. And well, Mark, from your weather days, you remember the occluded fronts, right?
Yes, yeah, right.
Yeah, the warm front rising up from the south and the cold front dropping down from the north, and they collide and they clash, and there's all this instability. So in addition to the snow and ice that may fall up in the Northeast, there could be some thunderstorms.
Yeah, severe weather, huh? Oh my God! And occluded is a ding word. I'm always loving our time with Spencer Christian. I am thinking of you. When I saw the news about Carter, I thought of you, and so thoughts and energy and good feeling is with you. And what can I say? We love you. Thank you. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The news about your Hollywood Squares stint is going to leave a mark for a few days. I'll get over it. I'll put it with the emotional bruising that the Good Morning America gig loss is occupying. And how about it? Spencer Christian, everybody, from ABC 7.
The Mark Thompson Show.
That guy's the best.
He is the greatest.